Good evening, Fernwood. My name's Neil, and thank you for joining me for day 33 of my 325-day journey through the entire controversial soap opera, Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. It's day 33 out of 325, so at this point, I'm about 1/10 of the way through the entire trip. And if you've been here the whole time, thank you so much for being here. Let's catch you up just a little bit. There are only a couple of tidbits I really feel like I need to touch on from last night's episode. George was in jail. Mary had to get him out. Dennis seemed to feel like Mary owed him a little bit. It's not verbal stuff, but it was clear that Mary felt pressure on her to put out for Dennis's help in getting Dad out of jail. And I feel like there's a lot to talk about with the Dennis and Mary relationship because it started, even though there was clearly a seduction energy going on from the start, it started much more sweetly. And yesterday got a lot, it got somewhat darker. I wonder what is going on in the creators' minds at this point in history. What are they trying to get at? Some of the thought I had is that at the time, rape was presented as a thing that happened to people in alleyways by strangers for the most part, and in reality, that's not the case. If we look at the statistics, most women are raped by people that they know. Boy, this got heavy, and that seems to be what's being presented here. Mary had a makeout session with Dennis, and now Dennis starts to act like he owns her in some way and owns her time. And it's clear that Mary doesn't appreciate this, but Dennis doesn't let up. And I think that's what's getting presented here is, that energy. Now, I don't know where this is going to go. I haven't seen the series at all. I know that a few years later, 1979, in General Hospital, we would see a rape scene presented. And that's a whole other conversation that honestly I can kind of only vaguely remember the Luke and Laura story from General Hospital. I don't know what the intent is. I feel like Mary is meant to Mary is meant to be an every woman, and uh, yeah, Mary is meant to be an every woman. And apparently every woman feels this pressure and fear. And honestly, I don't know how to address that. So I guess let's just watch the episode, and if more conversation comes, more conversation comes. And thank you for being here. I don't know what's going to happen in this episode, so I can't warn you about it. But just be aware that things have got kind of pressury, and we'll see what happens. With that, let us begin the February 18th, 1976 episode. This would have been a Wednesday, and apparently lots of things happen on Wednesdays, so I guess we'll just see.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman! I overslept this morning. And not that I slept longer, I just didn't sleep as much. What with your father being in such trouble at the police station, I couldn't go to sleep. I just tossed and turned all night long. You're up early this morning.
Yeah, that's because I want to talk to Daddy.
Well, don't try to talk to him before he's had his coffee, which isn't ready yet because I overslept. You know how he is before his coffee.
Good morning, Daddy.
Good morning. Is the coffee ready?
In a minute, dear.
In a minute. Martha, what is the one thing I have to have every morning?
What one thing?
One thing, Martha. The one thing is a cup of coffee. That's the one thing. I can't stand the taste of that mouthwash. I hate it until I've had a cigarette and a cup of coffee.
Daddy, I want to talk to you about Steve. I got up early this morning, especially so that I could talk to you.
Please, Kathy, I really can't talk until I've had my coffee.
Coffee is ready.
I'll get you some, King.
Thank you, honey.
Here you go. Now we can talk. I want to marry Steve. I really love him, and I see no point in waiting.
Listen, Kathy, I'm too upset to talk this morning, all right?
Oh, it doesn't matter what you say, Daddy. I'm going to marry him.
No, you're not going to marry him.
Yes, I am.
You're not.
I am.
You're not.
I am.
May I say something?
No! Life is too tough to tie yourself down to a man who's handicapped. How's he going to make a living? He'll be dependent on you for the rest of your life.
And you don't even have a job.
He has a job.
Raking leaves.
He's a gardener, and someday he's going to be a famous poet.
I am not going to read any poems, and I love you, honey bun. And I don't want to discuss this any further.
Well, if you don't want to discuss it, just get yourself another honey bun.
Now listen, Kathy, now that's no way to talk.
She's very upset, George.
Well, I'm upset too, Martha. I love that girl. I just don't happen to love the guy that she loves is all.
Oh! Oh! Now, what is that?
My God, I didn't think Kathy was that mad. So note on it. Don't run, or next time this could explode.
It's the union election. Now, why would anybody want to do anything like that?
Why, Martha? You want to know why this morning is such a mess? I'll tell you why. It's because you didn't have the coffee ready, that's why.
Oh, hush.
Your attempt to get out of bed was extremely foolhardy, Mrs. Haggis. Luckily, you didn't inflict any cardiovascular damage.
Charlie was there to catch me.
Need I point out that you are not ambulatory?
Maybe not, but I am a baptized Christian.
Now, I'm releasing you from the hospital tomorrow.
Doctor! Oh, I can't believe it! Oh, you got such a gloomy way of telling good news.
If you'll compose yourself, Mrs. Haggis, I'd like to continue.
Oh, you got some more good news?
The rest of the news is not quite so good. I'm afraid you'll be confined to a wheelchair for many months. And there'll be corrective surgeries and rehabilitation, which may improve your condition.
Well, you mean I gotta come back for some operations and stuff?
If there are sufficient funds. Otherwise, I can try to make arrangements at County General.
Well, never you mind about that. Charlie and I never been no charity case, and we don't plan on starting now.
For some insurance, of course, or some other means of
How's my
keeping
baby doll this morning?
Hi, honey.
Excuse me, doctor. Just let me squeeze by here, make a place so I can say a proper howdy do to my little lady. Honey, I got some terrific news.
Oh, I got some too.
You do? Okay, you go first.
Dr. Hastings says that I can get out of the hospital tomorrow.
Hot damn it, it's about time too.
Yes, but I
You
also
haven't heard
told...
my news. You haven't heard my news?
What is it?
Gerelda Doremus is coming to town.
Who is Gerelda Doremus?
You never heard it? She's only the greatest preacher and evangelical healer this side of the Rockies is all.
Golden voice, servant of the Lord. She's healed more sickies than you can throw a carload of crutches at.
Oh, you mean one of those phony religious quacks?
Why don't you express yourself to some other patient down the corridor, huh?
I have to leave now. But if you think your wife is going to be cured by some religious fanatic...
Doctor!
Gerelda Doremus. I can't believe it. She's gonna be here on Friday. Charlie, I'll be walking by the weekend.
Walking by the weekend.
I'll write a song about that.
I mean, I don't expect it to actually work either, but, you know, I don't sit with the doctor in terms of treating it that way.
Don't bruise the fruit. If I wanted bruised fruit, I could have got it much cheaper.
I'm sorry.
You're still mad at your father, aren't you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Hello, dear.
Hi, Martha. Hello, Princess.
You want some coffee, dear?
No, Martha. I would like to have a friendly greeting from my favorite daughter when I come home from a hard day's work.
But she's not talking to you, George.
Oh, no, she wouldn't do that to her old man, would you, Kathy?
Yes, she would.
No, not my little sweet pea. Tell your mother she's wrong, Kathy. Kathy, honey, listen, baby, it's not easy to be a father. I mean, we try to do good for our children. Sometimes they don't understand. But down the road, when a child does understand, they're going to realize that that father is still the same old loving, wise father that they always thought they had. You know that, don't you, Kathy?
No.
Damn it, Martha. It's all your fault. You encouraged her to fall in love with that guy.
What? What are you talking about?
Don't you want a man who can talk and hear? You don't want to spend the rest of your life letting your fingers do the talking?
Hi, Steve. I'm almost ready.
Well, look who's here. Come right over and sit down, and would you like some coffee?
Kathy, you didn't answer my question, Kathy. Steve, I gotta have a man-to-man talk with you. I mean, you understand? You know why I can't let you marry my daughter, don't you? I mean, you gotta talk to her, Steve. Yeah, right. You gotta talk to her. You gotta tell her why it won't work. 'Cause she's my baby. So please, Steve, tell her to talk to me. Tell Kathy to talk to her father.
Goodbye, Mother. Let's go.
I don't mean to encourage the situation, but he's such a sweet boy.
I don't care how sweet he is. No poetic leaf raker is going to marry my daughter.
Mary, never mind the cake. I'm too upset to eat any.
But Kathy, this is Duncan Hines Extra Noise. Would you like some cake, Steve? You're welcome.
Mary, do you know what Daddy said? He said that there is not going to be any wedding. That I cannot marry a deaf mute who rakes leaves and writes poetry.
What did Daddy say?
Yes.
Here, Steve. This cake is so moist that you can eat it before you frost it.
Mary's talking like she's
It doesn't
in a
matter.
foreign country.
The point is, Mary, that just because Steve has a tiny little handicap, like not being able to hear or speak, Daddy thinks he's a total loss.
Daddy just hasn't gotten to know Steve, that's all. I mean, you have to get to know Steve. Is that good? Do you think he really likes it?
Yes, Mary. Look, I really love Steve. I've been going out with him for 3 weeks. 3 wonderful weeks, which is longer than I've gone out with any boy in my entire life.
Oh, Kathy. Look, I mean, I'm going to say something that's going to sound really terrible right now, but I don't know Steve either. I mean, here we've been sitting here, and I've been talking only to you. I haven't said a thing to him. I mean, not one word, except, like, would you like some more cake? Oh, you want some more cake? Oh, that's nice.
Mary, that's no way to get to know somebody.
What do you mean?
Just smiling at him like that.
Oh, I know what I can do. I know we can communicate. We can dance. Want to dance, Steve? Kathy, this is the best way for us to communicate. Do you know that deaf people, the one thing they can do is they can hear the music through their feet?
Mary, that is just a myth. All all deaf people don't hear through their feet any more than you hear it through your pores or your belly button.
I mean, I could say a lot about how I feel music not through my ears, but that's...
So should I offer him okay?
And there are a lot of dancers that I respect who are deaf. But an assumption and a generalization.
Well, he says that he appreciates you trying to get to know him, but he feels that you know each other well enough already.
Really?
My phone is ringing.
Hello?
Mary?
What do you want?
Well, can you come over? I'd like to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to you.
Well, but it's important, Mary.
Tom, could you hold on a minute, please? Steve, did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, Steve says that he really thinks he knows you pretty well. And he's been watching you and kind of reading you. And what he feels is that you want to go over and talk to Tom.
Really? He does? Do you? That is so interesting. I guess that you have all those insights into people's thoughts because you're a poet. Hello, Tom. I'll be right over, but only for a minute. I'm only here for a minute, Tom, so what do you want?
Well, can't you at least come on inside? Come on inside.
Okay, I'm in. Now if you just... Wine? Candles? What, is Charlie having a dinner party?
No, Charlie went to the hospital to see Loretta. And, guess what, Mary? I'm having the dinner party. I wanted to surprise you. You see, I knew Heather was going to spend the night over at Trudy's, and I thought maybe if I, got everything ready for you, why, you might have dinner with me.
Wait a minute, you mean you went to all this trouble for me?
It wasn't any trouble. Really, not at all.
Scented candles?
Yeah. Yeah, the other ones I could find, to keep the mosquitoes away.
Oh, Tom, you remembered I hate mosquitoes?
Then you'll stay?
No, I can't. Oh, how can I have dinner with you? We're separated.
Mary, come on. I went to all this trouble because I wanted to show you how much you mean to me, how much I love you,
Well, I just had a piece of cake.
Oh, come on, just have one little glass of wine with me, okay, please? Just one little glass of wine, all right? Will you? Just one.
Okay. I'll have one glass.
Okay. You're gonna love this. I got this on special.
Okay, just one glass. One little glass.
For my wife. My best friend. My companion. The woman I love.
Oh, Tom, that's so beautiful. It's just like a Geritol commercial.
Well, I guess we'll see where Tom and Mary's relationship goes. This episode takes a big divergence from where we've been for the last couple days, so let's get into Steve and Kathy. Kathy has always been presented as young, and Steve is the first boyfriend that she has had that she seems to feel strongly for. And at this time, I don't know what was being presented in terms of disability on television. This is probably my main complaint about Steve is that other than an occasional scene here or there, we really don't get a point of view out of him. We really don't. We really only see him in support of other characters. And yet, I think last episode we had a little bit of him saying, "Oh no, I'm not right for you. I'm not good enough for you." But that's really not a character. That's just a thing that someone says. It's almost cliche. And I think maybe it was an experiment, or not an experiment, but maybe it was something that they were trying to figure out how to present this character once it was devised. Once Steve was a character on paper, how do you present that to a hearing audience? So a lot of the time you'll hear conversations that are one-sided in terms of volume, right? In terms of sound. You'll see the signing, but a lot of the time on this show, it's people talking about Steve and not Steve expressing anything about Steve. And so it doesn't feel like Steve really has agency as much as Steve seems like a device for other characters to have their fights over, if that makes sense. And I don't know where this storyline will go. I don't know how long Steve is in the show. At this point, it feels more like Steve's existence is an inconvenience for different characters for various reasons. Now, Steve seems nice enough and insightful, and I guess we'll see where he goes. In terms of representation, I'm curious to see how this would compare to other things. I don't really remember other deaf characters being presented over the decades, and I feel like even nowadays you don't often see deaf characters presented, or that's a whole field of study and a whole conversation that I'm not prepared to have, but it seems like one that we have an opportunity to talk about right now. So that was the February 18th, 1976 episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for listening. And we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.